Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time for some more Bloodsword. I quite wanted to record this last night, but the Veil of the Witch playthrough dropped, so I decided I had to record that pretty much straight away. I should probably record some more of that soon, but I do want to get on with this because we'd got to quite a distinct part in the story and it felt like the adventure was nearing an end, although not quite entirely. Okay, I'll recap the last section and then I'll give you some thoughts as to my decisions. You reach the mouth of the cave. A high, wedge-shaped tunnel recedes into the far darkness ahead of you. The river flows along the centre of this tunnel, and on either bank stand vicious-faced grey demons which seem to have sprouted out of the very rock. They have no legs, but only a single stem or stalk where their legs should be. Their tongues are like whips that can lash out more than a dozen meters, and they use them to herd pallid souls into the fast-flowing water. One of the unfortunates sees you and breaks from the throng. A demon turns to watch as he runs towards you, arms flailing in terror. "Help me!" he cries. "Help! Ah!" The demon's tongue whips around his throat and he is dragged slowly back along the ground. Its grey face contorts into a cruel grin as it casts him back among the others. "Merciful God!" you gasp. "We must put a stop to this horror." "Cast all such thoughts from your mind," warns the traveller. "This is the treatment that those souls have earned by their actions in their last life. The river will carry them back to the mortal world to be reincarnated. It is their karma, as we say in my country." Now, a reminder that I have had numerous suspicions that this nameless traveller, who has lived by many names, is Icon the Ungodly in disguise. I began to suspect this around the time we got to Angvar's Hall, Angvar's Mead Hall, and it wasn't anything there that did it. I believe, yes, we suspect the traveller possibly of being Icon the Ungodly. The only reason I have had my doubts about him being Icon the Ungodly is this. The traveller has frequently given us ill advice on our journey. Although it never seems ill-intentioned, he hasn't given us advice that would make it impossible for us to proceed. He's given us advice which will make it very difficult for us to proceed. To the extent that we would essentially be taking the hardest options that could still lead to success if we took his advice at every turn. He does, however, seem to be interested in us making it to the Angel of Death, or at least one of us making it that far. And him delivering us to the Angel of Death may not be in our best interest. And our foe Icon would be very interested in that. However, on virtually every occasion where we have gone against his advice, he's taken it really well. He hasn't become angry or frustrated with us for ignoring his words. He just simply kind of shrugs, accepts it, and moves on. And our ancient foe, Icon, hates us so much he can barely conceal his venom towards us on every single passing, every time we have crossed paths. So that is why I had a few minor doubts that he might not be Icon. However, do you remember when we were walking through the forest where the fairy folk were watching? Is it the Iron Forest? And there was the black unicorn, and he told us not to stray from the path. I went back and looked at that, after the last episode, if we'd stepped off the path and we still had the crucifixes that would have been given to us by Sir Tobias of Vantry of the Knights Capella in Book 3, if we'd gone and stayed with the Knights, then the unicorn would have got angry at us and left. If we did not still have those crucifixes, which we never got because we didn't stay with the Knights Capella, then we would have been grabbed by the fairies and dragged away into the forest and never seen again. So, here's the interesting thing. If someone is dragged away by the fairies, the traveller doesn't really comment, doesn't seem to care. But if someone steps off the path to the unicorn and has the crucifix which protects them from the Fey folk, and the unicorn storms off, then the traveller really loses his patience and is frustrated and angry at us and says, "Didn't I tell you to stay on the path? You'd be..." He's not angry that we stepped off the path. He's angry that the Fey folk didn't take us away to an auto-kill section. That's the kind of anger I would have expected from Icon, and in fact, in his anger, he slips up and again hints that he's from Yamato. So I'm pretty sure it's him, although I was lacking that small clue there. When I was asked about suspicions, I was pretty much made up my mind by that point. By the time we hit the River Styx, I was pretty sure it was him. So, again, he speaks of karma, hinting at his eastern past, as we say in my country. I did wonder if Lai Kung wasn't attacking us, but Lai Kung was attacking us because the traveller was with us, and the traveller was really what Lai Kung was attacking. I also wondered if this is not truly Sheol, not truly an afterlife, but it's the traveller's version of an afterlife, that he's, his illusory version that he's created to guide us through. I suspect it's not quite that deep, and that it is just the real version. Anyway, we could decide to attack one of the demons, or pass by the scene of torment. Now, the river flows along the centre of this tunnel, and on either bank stand vicious-faced grey demons, which seem to have sprouted out of the very rock. Now, I did not read this as there is a single demon on either riverbank, but rather on either bank stands vicious-faced grey demons, plural, because otherwise it would be on each bank stands a vicious-faced grey demon. So there's many of them, right? And we would only get to fight one. If we fight one, all the other demons are there. They might not get involved, but we would be encouraged. Well, what would he do then? Fight all the other demons? No, they'd just carry on doing their work. And we haven't really changed very much. Additionally, once we pass out of this cave, we will be pretty much off the edge of the map, right? The Screaming Mountains and beyond death. So pretty much we will be heading out onto some kind of plane. We still haven't met the Angel of Death yet. I thought he was supposed to be here in the centre of a plane of no return. But maybe this plane is the one he's in the middle of. And if we're going out there to some kind of final encounter, we're not going to have much time to heal up after a fight with a demon. The demon might not be that challenging, and it's not truly our place to interfere in the sort of natural order of things at this point. So let's choose not to. This will be one of those times when the traveller's advice aligns with our interest, or rather our interests seem to align with it. Remember in Book 1, when we had the fight with the Mother of Monsters, and then it was like only 6 sections later, I think it was, we had to fight Icon the Ungodly. And then in book 3, if we had fought the 7 in 1, we would have had only 1 or 2 sections grace before fighting Icon the Ungodly again. He does seem to like to ambush right after a nasty fight. So by denying him the opportunity to watch a demon weaken us, we are remaining strong and ready for his treachery. The cave extends back for miles, widening at some points into vast bulbous chambers where the stone has formed Baroque decorations. Moisture trickles down the walls, causing an endless whispering as it flows to the river. At last you reach the back of the cavern. Water covers the rock like a living skin. The traveller points to a narrow fissure from where it seems to be pouring. You scale the wall to investigate. The fissure is low, such that you have to crouch to proceed. Then you have to go on all fours. Finally, you can only crawl on your belly like a snake. Green-white phosphorescence streams from somewhere ahead, creating an ethereal hissing in the air. You feel as though you are pushing through invisible webs. Blood thunders in your vein. "Like returning to the womb, isn't it?" whispers the traveller, chuckling. "Shut up!" You're getting tired of his continual remarks. I'm tempted to count the sections till the next fight to see how much recovery we would have had, because the new reprints have the 1 healing per section limit. So this is 1. If there's a section where we're asked who we suspect, that will take up time and help with healing. But anyway, just when you are beginning to think you will become trapped in the narrowing tunnel, it widens out and you emerge into open air. You are standing on a hard stone plain that sparkles under a net of hoarfrost. Icy cold wind whips at your robes and hair. The sky above is cloudless and black and filled with a million stars, and before you, in the centre of the vast plain, stands Azrael himself. Okay. This is an angel. This is more powerful than the genie. This is getting into pretty epic stuff now. But we're 4 books into a 5-book quintet. It's good pacing, good timing. Azrael is a naked giant as large as a mountain. His skin is jet black, and wrapped across his face is a white blindfold. A colossal sword is planted on the ground in front of him, with his mighty hand resting on its ivory pommel. He is indeed the angel of death. His face is beautiful beyond mortal comprehension, and he has wings which touch the edges of the sky. The plumage of these wings has a pattern like a peacock's tail, with countless eyes, except that many of the eyes in the pattern appear to be closed. You know from folklore that each represents a man or woman in the mortal world, closing when that individual dies. When all the eyes are closed, it will be the day of judgment, and that day cannot be far off. Many more are closed than are open. The dead far outnumber the living. We are asked if Cordelia is with us, and she is. That will take us to a 3rd section. So, okay, we're getting a bit of recovery time. Cordelia speaks for the first time, looking about her as though awaking from a dream. She says, "What is this place? What has happened to me?" She shivers in the wind. "Have no fear," the traveller says to her. "I will take you back to the mortal world, where your memories will soon return." What does he mean, he will take her back? What, indeed? I think we know. So now he intends to trade our deaths for his life somehow. I was thinking that by presenting us to the Angel of Death and having the Angel of Death witness our demise, we would be truly dead forever in an unrecoverable state. Earlier, you may have written down something you were suspicious about. If it concerned the Traveller, it did indeed concern the Traveller. Yes, it did. So that's 4, 5. If you merely suspected that he was up to no good, no, that was pretty obvious. If you also realised that he is not who he seems, yeah, I kind of worked that out. Scion of the Sugenisiki or something that Modgood called him. If you realise that he is actually your arch-foe, Icon the Ungodly. Now, as I pointed out in the last episode, back when we were at the Shrine of Summoning and we attempted to summon Prince Sosorian, a foe who we knew was dead, he walked in through the entrance of the shrine. When we attempted to summon Icon the Ungodly, he did not walk in to the entrance of the shrine. Quite possibly because he was blatantly standing there with us all along. Why walk into a room that you are already within? And yes, I pretty much penned it was him. So it's looking like another 6 sections recovery time. Also, our heroes are pretty much addicted to snuff. The Traveller turns to you with a sneer. Yes, he says, it is I who shall keep your pact with Intasius, while you remain here and rot in Death's domain forever. Have you not realized who I truly am? Who it is that has guided you through Sheol's perils in order to savour this final scene of vengeance? Icon, you say. You talk a good fight, as usual. So you had guessed. He hurls aside his cloak and hat. It is difficult to see now why you didn't recognize him as soon as you met. Some sort of illusion magic, no doubt. And do you recognize this? He produces a sword that he has worn slung across his back under the cloak. Its jewelled hilt and scabbard make the blood sword unmistakable. Icon tosses it to the ground behind him. No good for fighting, badly balanced, he says dismissively. He twists... So he doesn't like a scimitar, but he likes his katana. He twists the end of his staff and there is a click as he withdraws a straight, slender blade that was concealed there. I much prefer the Kiri-ha form. Let me show you how effective it can be in the hands of a master. So we've had 7 sections of recovery time. Okay. And Ariadne still has the Nemesis Bolt spell prepared. I'm going to do something quickly before we get into combat, though. I'm going to change the party marching order, as I suspect Icon will engage the first person in party. He'll be engaging one of the first people and may be starting in contact already. If his awareness is high enough, and it probably will be, we will want to recover the blood sword, possibly even during the fight or before it. So by moving the warrior out of first place to a position where he can recover the blade more without taking a free hit on the way out of combat, that's great. So some kind of bladed staff with a retractable blade. Huh? That's not a bladed staff. That's more like a sword cane. Icon seems almost crazed with exhilaration as he closes to attack you. Could there be a more fitting place to settle our blood feud, he cries. Here, under the gaze of Death himself, I will finally revenge myself upon you, when he claimed that he was murdered most horribly. I take issue with that. It wasn't murder, it was self-defense. He keeps picking fights with us. We haven't attacked him or ambushed him or treated him badly once. The first time, It was fair competition. He tried to cheat and abuse us most badly, then attacked us. And then, because we beat him, he came back again to try and murder us all. And because that didn't work out, he's decided that we murdered him wickedly and unfairly. It's interesting. He seems to believe that the only reason he loses against us is because we are doing something unfair. The only thing we're doing is working together as a team, whereas he is the one who is guilty of the frequent dishonorable conduct towards us. He is so blinded by his hatred that he can't see that he's bringing this on himself. The monstrous ego of the man. Azrael is the instrument of the Lord God, to whom you are no greater than motes of dust. Yet Icon thinks of him as some kind of spectacular backdrop for your battle. I actually think he imagines more than that, and that he will, if he's going to depart with Cordelia and go back to the world of the living, Wuintasius, he must have found a way by which he can escape Sheol. And if we kill him, he's not going to be able to tell us. Icon has fighting prowess of 9, psychic ability of 9, that deals 5 dice of damage. I think this is about on par with his book 3 stats, although I think psychic ability or fighting prowess might have been 1 lower. An awareness of 9, which means we may have been good to swap Remy and Sir Alwyn. No armor. He usually has an armor rating of 1, and an endurance of 55, which again is similar to book 3. Interesting that he doesn't seem that much more powerful here, but wait, there's more. Icon is immune to the spell of Servile Enfrawment. He has 4 spells that he might use in the battle. Unless there is a reader playing Icon's part, you will need to roll randomly for his action each round. On a 1 to 3, he strikes with his sword. On a 4 to 6, he casts a spell. So in book 1, he cast the spell of Retributive Flames and attacked and fought to the end. In book 3, he cast the spell of Retributive Flames and a wall of fire to block off the exit. Here, he has a number of spells and has not cast the spell of Retributive Flame already. His spells are Haragei, which translates as Inner Force. This complexity level 1 spell increases the focus of Icon's strength so that he strikes for 6 dice in combat. It lasts for 4 rounds, and once he has cast it, he will not bother with any other magic until it wears off. Icon favours the Haragei spell when he is fighting only 1 or 2 opponents, by which I believe that means in the whole fight, not just base-to-base contact. Hikari, Fire. A blasting spell of complexity level 2. It inflicts 1 die plus 4 less armor rating on all players. Icon will use this if he is fighting 3 or more opponents. This feels like a slightly more powerful version of Volcano Spray. Complexity level 1. We don't have a complexity level 2 AoE blast. We have Sheet Lightning for 2 dice plus 2. So yeah, for complexity level 2, that's a powerful level 2 spell. Nindo, Invisibility, a complexity level 3 spell that turns Icon invisible for 4 rounds. While he is invisible, fight rounds against him must be made on 3 dice, 4 if he is dodging. So, opponents are allowed to use the defend action if they're played by a player? That's interesting. Shaken, Throwing Stars. This complexity level 4 spell causes a volley of up to 6 Shaken, roll 1 die for each for the exact number, to fly out of mid-air and strike a single opponent. Oh, a focused blasting spell. Each Shaken inflicts 2 dice of damage, less armor rating, so at least armor applies to each of them, and remains lodged in the target's body. The player must spend 1 round removing the Shaken. If he does not, he takes a further 1 point of damage per Shaken each round, with armor no longer protecting. because the Shaken are already in his body. If you move over to the blood sword and spend a round picking it up, I think that's a really good idea. If the Sage is here and wants to spend a round trying to exercise Icon's spirit, we could try that. We can go for the kill. Exorcism works against the undead. Now, Icon isn't undead. He's dead. He's literally dead here in Death's domain. I'm not sure it's going to help. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have swapped people around. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't go past it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's going to take us... Yeah, I shouldn't have swapped. Okay, we'll swap back. I'll take the hit. What the hell? It's going to take us 3 rounds to recover the blood sword from this position, and 4 rounds to recover it from this position, unless I eat a hit going past Icon. That being said, under old rules, we could just move straight to it in 1 round. Remy has quick thinking, he could get it around quicker, but I don't imagine we'll be able to pass it between each other in combat. Right, well, I'd better go make a map. At least I've got Icon's spirit ready from the last few times we've encountered him. See you in a bit. I've decided to use this map. It looks suitable enough for a rocky plain with ice crystals upon it. We've got the blue mushrooms here casting a bluish glow, some kind of bluish crystally salty looking glow here. It looks good enough, right? Here we have the blood sword. The image didn't quite crop into the token as well as I would have liked, so that's why I'm hiding it partially behind the top of the window. Now here is Icon, and actually looking at his stats, they are exactly the same as Book 3, except for the lack of armor, which I am now removing. We got the initiative window set up here, and I think while Icon is revealing himself, Brother Kern should not so surreptitiously pass the charm of shielding to Sir Alwyn. Now, let's go a step further. Icon's going to go first. If he attacks with his sword and hits, that means that if Sir Alwyn makes a break for the blood sword, he's getting hit twice in the same round, and probably being taken out of action. So I think that my original plan for Remy and Sir Alwyn to swap places was a good idea, and I should go with that. In fact, there we go. Excellent stuff. I just stopped to take a screenshot for the episode thumbnail with the swapped positions. Oh, you know what? We don't want that highlight around the edge there, so we'll get rid of that and do it again. There we go. Lovely. This is going to be a tough fight. Remy has quick thinking, however, so he can take a hit back, and then go on the defensive at the end of the first round. I'd like to save quick thinking for after we cast something like Eye of the Tiger. Also, here's the tricky one, right? Icon doesn't randomize which spells he prepares, so he's likely to be preparing and casting the same spell, just not necessarily in 2 consecutive rounds. Whereas other enemy spellcasters have randomized which spell they prepare, and they could prepare 2 or 3 separate spells before finally casting one, getting harder and harder. So, Icon does get to go first. Now, I could just do a straight D2 to see what he does, but I'm sticking with the D6 roll we've been given. A 4. He prepares a spell. Awesome. Let's look at these. Haragay only uses that if there's only like 1 or 2 of us left. Hikari will only use this if fighting 3 or more opponents. Nindo, invisibility. And Shakan targets a single victim. We get to choose for him. I think Hikari, which is complexity level 2. And he did not attack, which is very nice for us. Won't be so nice when he casts it. Remy will now defend, because it's going to get nasty. So Alwyn will need to steer clear, so let's see. We need to go Burr, 8, 9. 1, 9, whichever way we do it. So that's 3, 4 rounds. Oh. Well, there we go. We're using the optional rules for restricted movement. I've used them in every encounter so far, including against the tentacles of the Ice Lacken, where I probably should not have used it. Ariadne has Nemesis Bolt prepared, so she's going to try and cast that. Now, she has a bit of a track record of failing to cast this spell in emergencies like this. Wouldn't want to let us down now, would she? Now, Brother Kern can close. Oh, this is really risky. If he goes in... I mean, the stunning technique is a good idea, but let's go 1, 2, 3, 4 and consider our options. New round. Icon will maybe attack with his sword this time. He does attack with his sword. Excellent. Remy is defending. Now, Remy, I want you to be as hard a target as possible. Oh, yeah, that's a very hard target. Far too tricky for such a master swordsman to break through. That incredible defense. Remy's blocking, he's dodging, he's parrying, he's yelling insults, he's doing everything to keep the villain's attention on us, on him, and not on Sir Alwyn, who's heading for the Bloodsword. Remember, Icon doesn't care about the Bloodsword. He cares about us not getting it. He cares about denying us what we want. So he will care a bit, but not that much. Right, Remy will continue to defend. Sir Alwyn will stride over to the sword and be ready to pick it up very soon. But he has to step into its square and then spend a whole round picking it up. So we're talking 4 rounds, and then he'll be coming in right down here, which means we want Brother Kern round here, not blocking this square. Okay. Ariadne will attempt to cast her spell. Down to 4 now. Not yet. Now is not the time. It is complexity level 5. Yeah, a potent spell indeed. If Brother Khan goes in, he is liable to be attacked. He can take... Right, 29. Unless Icon rolls all 5 6s, Brother Kern can take 1 hit. We don't want to try a stunning hit yet. We want to try it later on when we're boosted. So we're just going to stay out here, which gives Icon only the 1 target, except he has spells, and he shall attack with his sword. Well, we know who it is. 14 again, exactly the same as last time. Remy is a hard target, and he knows it. Remy will continue being a hard target, and Sir Alwyn will make sure the sword is arranged to back, step onto the sword, and gaze down lovingly at it and reach for it with his hand. Clearly it's stuck in the ground. It's going to take some freeing, some prying free or something, or he wants to kneel down and pray first before lifting it, you know, kiss it, be extremely grateful to have it, and take a whole round. Not just this round, but next round as well, doing that. Ariadne will be down to complexity level 3. I believe that's failed by a mere 1. So next round, good odds. Brother Kern will hold off. While it's nice to give him an extra target, Remy's doing a pretty good job so far. Okay, round 4. Icon will cast his spell. It is a complexity level 2 spell for Hikari. I could be an arsehole and have him just prepare another spell, but no, he's nasty enough already, so sure. And maybe he failed to cast his spell. Excellent. It doesn't just happen to Ariadne, although she's been able to cast spells when her target number is like that low before. Remy will continue defending. So Alwyn will pick up the blood sword. I shall remove it from the map. And I will note, just in case, it looks like we'll be redirected back here, but I will note that we are at section 121. The sword has been reclaimed. Make sure you have the number of the previous entry before reading on. I was not directed to do that, but I'm glad that I did. This entry will not guide you back there, meaning... Oh yeah, because we could have tried an exorcism on him, then been directed to a different combat section, possibly if the fight continued. If the exorcism failed or something, then been directed here if we picked up the sword. The Sword of Life, known in popular folklore as the Blood Sword, was created by the Archangel Abdiel. It is one of the most potent and holy relics in all the world. On a mundane level, it adds 3 to its wielder's fighting prowess and inflicts an extra 2 dice of damage when it hits in combat. If you strike an undead creature with it, the target must attempt to resist a psychic attack and is instantly destroyed if it fails. It also has other powers. You will learn more about these as you use it. Now return to the last entry you were reading. Oh, wait a minute, this is so stupid. Okay, I just had a great idea. So, the Axe of Heraclos is +1 fighting prowess. We can't use the Axe of Heraclos and the Blood Sword. So, we have a fighting prowess of 9, but when we attack, it is 10 or 12, depending on which weapon we use. Let's ditch some rations. And move the silver armband up, because obviously... Okay. I'm going to add a note here. Oh yeah, I can't copy the text, can I? Because of something about the way this PDF has been scanned in. There we go, see, right. If the blood sword strikes an undead creature, and I suspect that the 5 villains of the game are undead that we will face in book 5, then they must make a psychic ability test or be destroyed. There we go. Excellent. We're going to need that. Oof. Okay. Ariadne still has a spell. This is round 4, so it's gone 5, 4, 3, 2. Really? Yes, +2. Nope. And Brother Kern will hold off. Icon will randomize and maybe attack again with his sword. He does attack with his sword, meaning he doesn't get to keep trying to cast his spell. Well, Remy's a hard target. But even hard targets eventually get 14 again. Wow. Okay. Right. Remy will continue defending for a moment. Now, let's... While it would be lovely to have Sir Alwyn charge in. Yeah, no, we'll do that first. Yeah, sure. He will charge in with the Bloodsword, facing his foe, obviously, and hew at him with the blade. Fighting prowess 12. I don't even need to roll. I can go straight to damage. So, $15 points of damage. Okay, not the best roll, but a very healthy amount. Now, oh, and I should remove the... No, it's all good. I saw the no armor and thought it was his current health from when he was defeated in Book 3. Alright. Ariadne will attempt once more to unleash the Nemesis Bolt, and does so. It streaks through the air, striking our Nemesis for a whole 76 plus 7 points of damage. Let's see this go off. Bosh! 29 points of death. Oh, I should also return to section 121 where the fight's happening, shouldn't I? There we go. Excellent. I'll select some text, clear it so it's not still stuck on the previous page. Okay, 29 is a lot. Oh my goodness, takes him down to 11. He probably lets out a pretty horrific shriek at that kind of agony. At which point, Brother Kern is going in to try and stun him with his staff, hit some kind of nerve ending or something, or just bash him over the head and leave him confused. Alright. Oh! We've got the Ankh. We're taking half damage from everything. I didn't need to worry about Sir Alwyn being in first place. I could have rushed for the sword and taken... It would have taken like an average of 4 hits to take him down. Yeah, we should have done that. None of us have actually taken any damage yet. Right, speaking of damage, let's get this attack off. 3 dice, because a 9... Oh, no, another failed stun attempt. It's just too difficult. Right. Icon has got to know. Yeah, he's attacking the sword again. D3, top to bottom. Okay. Brother Kern is not defending. Sir Alwyn is not defending. Remy is defending. And Icon the Ungodly has chosen to attack Remy. He is so frustrated at his inability to hit this nimble, agile trickster that he's ignoring the 2 others standing next to him, one of whom has done him a hefty injury, and also the Enchantress of the spell at the back. 12. Nah, mate. Nah, not quite good enough, I'm afraid. Remy will look at those 11 endurance points and go, mate, Sir Alwyn, that's all yours. And he will get in there with the sword. 17 points. Takes Icon the Ungodly down. Usually when this happens, something nasty happens. And he has his escape spell where he'll turn into mist and try and drift somewhere. But where could he go this time? Let's find out together. Mortally wounded. Of course, he also shouldn't die here. This is the realm of death. He's already dead. Mortally wounded, Icon sinks to his knees on the frost-rimed rock. As you have seen from your 2 previous encounters with him, his powerful key force lets him cling to life for a few extra moments, but this time he does not use his vaporization spell to escape. Despite the obvious agony, he opens his mouth to speak. His voice is a rasping whisper.
I underestimated you. You have developed real skills since we last clashed. For years you had only my hatred. But now you have my admiration also. I am honored to have been your enemy.
He falls silent, staring at you with an indescribable expression. You wait a few moments, but he says nothing else. When you touch the body, it slumps lifeless to the ground, and amid Azrael's plumage, another of the myriad eyes winks shut. Ooh. That looks bad. So, obviously there's some kind of bad thing that can happen with Azrael. Some kind of auto-kill. Let's ignore that for a moment. Because it's not part of the active part of the adventure right now. If you have not yet retrieved the blood sword, then you find it among Icon's belongings. Except he chucked it on the ground. This picture looks like it's probably something that happened back in Crescentium, actually, and is not something that's happening in Sheol. You will first have to note the number of the entry you're reading, though, as 194 will not direct you back here. We already have retrieved it. It was instrumental in bringing about his downfall. It's interesting that he did not seek to use it against us. He doesn't like it. Azrael tilts his colossal head and speaks at last, and his voice shakes the sky and the very ground underfoot. The dies irae is near. As I reckon time, it is scarcely a heartbeat hence. To you, it is perhaps a year or two. According to ancient prophecies, the last days will be a time of reversals, when men will caper like animals and beasts will walk upon their hind legs and hold learned discourse. It is the greatest of reversals for the sword of life to be here in my domain, while the sword of death is abroad in the upper world. Thus I fought for a time, but the prophecy had been fulfilled, and that the day of judgment was at hand. He pauses for a moment, and then answers your thought before you can voice it. No, I am not all-knowing. That is for the Lord himself and no other. Similarly, although blindfolded, I am not forbidden from direct involvement in human affairs. I have been close behind you on many occasions, and in some cases exercised my own judgment not to bring you to me sooner. Not necessarily just when the dice were in our favour, but maybe even in Book 2, where Sir Alwyn returned from the dead. Lord Azrael, you say? The Sword of Life still has important work to do in the mortal world. The True Magi are gathering their power for a return to spite, from which they can extend their malefic influence like the strands of a cobweb. This, you brandish the blade, this can stop them. You ask for me to return you to Middle-earth, says Azrael, his words like the tolling of a great iron bell. We have an iron bell. In truth, a mortal sorcerer has already arranged your passage back. But what of the girl with you? While you are still clothed in living flesh and bone, she is a bare spirit. She belongs among the inhabitants of my realm, and the tally must not be altered. She cannot leave here unless another agrees to take her place. I was hoping Icon could take her place. Now, if we don't leave with her, I don't think Antasius is going to bring us back. This feels like a really big decision. But we've also seen that we can make a fatal error and that Azrael will punish us if we make a wrong decision at some point in the not too distant future. This may very well be it. It is unfortunate that one of these two sections was, I believe, on the opposite page to the previous section where some of it could be read. Setting that aside for a moment, we have a member of the party who is not afraid of death. He's died once before and been reborn. And let the stereo commit slave, or whatever it is the next line of that Bob Dylan song is. Let's remove all. We died and were reborn. Can't quite remember the words of that line, but that's okay. Also, Sir Alwyn is the very spirit of honour. If one of us is to die, let it be me, he should say. Logically, if one of us dies, we're playing through the next book without a full party. Also, we're either accepting a true permanent death for one party member, or it is some kind of test, and there is a way to restore him to life. I think Sir Alwyn should offer up his life here. We are not a lone player. If there's two or more, it'll be Sir Alwyn who volunteers to remain behind. But he's the one holding the blood sword. Oh, what a conundrum. Ha ha ha. Okay, let's see. Let us see indeed. This was the oath sworn to Antasius in return for his aid, you admit, that Cordelia would be returned to him no matter what the cost. Very well, Lord of Death. One of us will take her place among your subjects. And in fact, it is probably Sir Alwyn who says, I shall take her place among your subjects, as he steps and kneels and bares his neck before the mighty sword of the angel. Azrael smiles down at Sir Alwyn. Well spoken. You are truly a worthy successor to the likes of Heraclos, Ulysses, and Valander. If it were my decision to make, I would allow you to return to the mortal world and prosecute your conflict with the Magi. But this is the unalterable law of God, that though I may pick and choose among the living, taking whom I will, and after whatever span of years, even I cannot change the tally of all the dead. He raises a massive hand from the pommel of his sword. You may all return now to the mortal plane. When you have said your farewells, I shall claim to the one who is pledged for me. He reaches his towering arm towards the firmament. A nebula of light surrounds his hand. He is opening the gateway to the mortal world. The wind roars across the plain, bringing with it a blizzard that bears down upon you. You are surrounded by snow that stings your flesh, and the air is so cold that you cannot draw it into your lungs. Merciful God! You scream as you feel your consciousness fading. Azrael's voice booms out of the blizzard. Be silent. Do not tremble and call upon the Lord to aid you. It is not the sensation of death that you now feel and fear. It is the sensation of returning to life. Cold and darkness enfold you. Swept along by unearthly forces, you experience flashes of consciousness like the breaks in delirium. You cannot tell how long has passed when finally you feel hands upon you. You have been washed ashore on a stony beach, and a tall woman is calling her servants to pull you from the waves. You look up at her. It is Antasius's servitor. When you look for the faces of her helpers, you see only darkness. You fall unconscious again. When you awaken, you are back in the room of cold stone slabs where your journey to Sheol began. The servitor is here. She steps back from you, having just moistened your lips with an elixir from an alabaster vase. You sit up on the slab. You are clothed in white togas, and the blunt sword is still in your hands. Cordelia is on a slab beside you, staring about her with wide eyes. Nothing is said of Sir Alwyn being absent. Is he still with us? We do not know. You were naked when we found you washed up on the beach, says the servitor in a soothing voice. All your belongings were lost, except for that sword which could not be prized from your grasp. What? Everything? That feels dodgy. All that magical armor, all the useful magical items we found that could have been useful in the future. Ooh. You smile wryly. It will soon be time for a permanent parting. One of us has agreed to return to Sheol to take Cordelia's place. The quest for this sword has proven very costly indeed. In which case we are all still here. Maybe we haven't left Sheol yet. Perhaps this is... Ooh. It takes great bravery and honor to sacrifice oneself for a greater good, she says to Sir Alwyn. Your name will be spoken of with reverence whenever great heroes gather. She turns to Cordelia. Have no fear. You are once more in the mortal world. Antasius is here. Cordelia speaks in a small voice. Antasius? Aye, my love, the ancient wizard has entered the room behind you. Now we are together again, and not all the storms of hell shall ever part us. She looks round, then gasps in dismay. No, you are not, cannot be Antasius. My love was young and strong and full of life. Is she really that stupid? Does she not understand how long she might have been dead? She shrinks from his withered touch. You are an old man. Oh, the harsh rejection. Is his age the only reason she rejects him, or does she genuinely believe he cannot be the same person? Because for her, she may have been just like falling asleep and waking up after a little while. Antasius cries out at the revulsion he sees in her eyes. And wilt thou greet me thus, that have loved thee so long? Alas, thy cruelty! He gives a terrible groan. Suddenly, seeming to sense a presence at his shoulder, he turns and stares into a corner of the room. You can see no one there. Oh, death, he moans. For 7 centuries I have forestalled thee, and all that time I loved a phantom. Approach me now, then. I welcome the touch of thy wing. A shadow settles over him. For a moment you fancy you glimpsed a dark-robed figure stooping there. Then Antasius gives a gasp and sinks to the stone floor. He is dead. The player who had agreed to give up his or her life in exchange for Cordelia's should now turn to section 276, whereas everyone else just gets to sit here and wait. So be it. Perhaps Entasius's life has paid the price and met the balance, and keeping the tally of the dead the same. A far-off voice whispers to you, a faint, far-off whisper. You are released from our agreement. Entasius has come to my realm in exchange for his lover's life, and the tally is as before. But of course, the time will come when we must meet again. You feel a shiver run through you, then death is gone from the room. That could have turned out very differently if we had not agreed to take her place. Only the sound of sobbing disturbs the silence. You look down at Cordelia, crouching beside the frail body of the wizard, cradling his head in her arms, but it is too late for regrets. You follow the servitor from the room. Delete all items from your character sheets except for the blood sword. Everything else has been lost in the transition between Sheol and this world. That is really unfortunate. It means we don't get to carry on items into any... Wait, all items? Remy's like, all items? Even all that money we found? Yep, all that money we found. And the Axe of Heraclos, that's actually kind of harsh. If we can get it all... And this is absolutely get rid of it all. This is an extreme clean slate. Look, at least... If we get it all back, because it's not like make a backup list for it in case you ever get it back again, it's just all gone. That's very harsh. If we do get it back somehow, I can just load up the token equipment list from the save, and that would be very nice. Are we being given new equipment? However, you have in effect died and be reborn. This affects you in several ways. First, if you are suffering from any form of illness, poison, madness, curse, or amnesia, you are now purged of it. If any player's fighting prowess, awareness, psychic ability, and endurance were below their normal levels, they are restored. Yeah, but we've lost all our equipment. Also, you have become much more than ordinary mortals. Only those who were destined for heroic stature could survive the perils of Death's land. Consequently, your abilities are greatly enhanced as follows. If you're the warrior, you can strike twice each round, once with each hand. Your unarmed combat skills are also such that you no longer need to reduce your fighting prowess and damage when fighting without a weapon. We can also fight twice. This is essentially the ability that Honguk the Pirate King had. I suspect we're very near the end of the adventure, if not at the end itself, so I will be going back to check if it's possible to keep our gear. If you have a Sage, you now use a multiplier of 1 die minus 1 instead of 1 die minus 2 when using your healing talent, which finally explains why it's been improved in Book 5. So it was not a mistake, it is a power we gain. If you have a Trickster, you find that your agility and coordination are much greater than before. An opponent who is trying to hit you must now make his or her fight rolls on 3 dice, 4 if you're defending. Does that replace our +1 dodging technique? Quite possibly. So we give Remy an ability called Improved Dodging. And I will check if it's explicitly called out in here. I'm not liking the fact that we've lost our money, which we could have used to replace our missing equipment. But hey-ho, we may still get new equipment from Antasius's palace. Dodging technique. When an opponent makes a fight attack against you, must roll 3 dice or 4 if you choose to defend. Yeah, okay, so it's vastly improved. So Remy's now basically impossible to hit. Got it. Okay. If you're the enchanter, you can now only use one... Whoa! You now only use 1 die when making a roll to cast a spell. Oh, that is really, really good. I'm just gonna... That ain't good there. I'm gonna have to put that in notes. That will make her spells much more reliable when cast. However, we are now still thinking, how do we do this with no equipment? It's going to be very difficult with just 1 weapon. For successfully completing the adventure, you get 1,000 experience points to be divided equally among all surviving players. We will do that now. So, 1,300. Got it. Out of the 1,250 needed for 6th. I suppose I was keeping the Axe of Heraclos stats in the hope we would still be able to hurl it, but it seems that is not to be the case. 46 plus 1. And I will check in Book 5 to see if the stats of the Blood Sword are slightly different, as I was told new powers would be revealed to me as it was used. So 1,300... 1,300, and of course Ariadne does not miss out on experience points. Let's pop our characters back up here, away from Icon the Ungodly, who is now well and truly dead, never to return. Antasius' servitor takes you to another room stocked with armor and weapons. Antasius kept these things to equip his demon fighters when they were needed, she says. Nothing here is magical, but at least they will be more appropriate than the togas I have you clothed in. You can take your pick of the items. There are swords, bows, quivers of arrows, and quarterstaffs. There are also numerous suits of studded leather armor and a single suit of plate armor. Right. Okay. The plate armor has an armor rating of 4. We will give that to our warrior, who tends to take... who will now definitely be taking more hits than Remy. We'll have him face. There we go. So everyone else gets studded leather armor. Okay. So we got sword, bow, quiver of 6 arrows, studded leather armor, so quarterstaff, just in case he actually gets to do it. Bow, quiver of 6 arrows, and then Ariadne will take a quarterstaff, a sword. Try to just take a staff at this point because it's different. She likes using a sword. She's had it before. And studded leather armor with an armor rating of 2. There we go. And we feel the loss of all those powerful magic items we could have once had in our possession. Once you have fully re-equipped, well, barely re-equipped. Okay. Maybe there's more treasure or even some magic items to choose from. Who knows? I feel that even if there was an option to keep our gear, I may have taken the best choice, as in keeping our gear may just be very nasty. Lead to a tough fight with Entasius or something. The servitor leads you to the shore where a longship awaits you. Its oars are manned by invisible falcons. This ship will convey you to the mainland, she says. After the quest you undertook on my master's behalf, this is but a small recompense, and what will she do here with Cordelia? It was a quest which for him brought only grief, you reply. Fortunately, it also led to the recovery of the blood sword, so, though his motive was nothing more than his love for Cordelia, the whole world now owes him an inestimable debt. This sword shall be the salvation for us all. Aye, she says softly as you board the ship, save for my poor master who is now beyond salvation. Invisible and soundless, the falcons ply the oars. The ship sweeps away from the lonely island, parting the waves with her prow. Spread by gusts of wind, your robes resemble the wings of the angel of death. You do not look back. Your eyes are fixed on the horizon ahead, and they are like shards of ice. You swing the sword aloft and swear a solemn vow. Magi, beware! Too long have your foul plans been left to fester. Now the day of your destruction is near. The hand of righteous wrath is reaching out of the west to smite you, and it's the hand that wields the blood sword. The final battle with the True Magi awaits you in Book 5 of the Bloodsword series, The Walls of Spite. Well, I'll save the glossary for the Afterthoughts video. We can do our leveling up now. Afterthoughts, oh hell, they took away all our nice magic items that were incredibly helpful and allowed us to get this far. So she's lost her magic ring that gives +1 psychic ability, and a magic sword that gives +1 fighting prowess. He's lost the charm of shielding. Remy's lost the magic sword that gave him +1 fighting prowess, and the magic bow that gave him +1 fighting prowess for shooting, so Alwyn retains the blood sword. And going from rank 5 to rank 6 is obviously getting an extra point of damage. And 6 points of endurance and nothing else. That was disturbingly quick leveling. Okay, Remy, what you got? 6 points of endurance, 1 point of damage, and nothing else. Obviously, this isn't one of those ranks where we gain much more than just a bit of extra health and damage, because they're like way off, right? For Brother Kern, 5 points of endurance, point of damage, and that's it. Yep, okay. Oh, you know what we should do? Change the rank number. Obviously. So, 30 endurance, and his damage goes up to 2d6 plus 1. I have a feeling the foes in the final book may be significantly more challenging than those in this one. And then for Ariadne, she gets the noticeable leap up to the 2d6 damage the others have enjoyed for a while. Oh no, she goes to 1 die plus 3. She has even slower... Wait, 1 die plus 3 up to 2 dice plus 1. Ooh, wait a minute. Is that normal? That's it. Because 1 die plus 3 is better than 2d6 in many, many ways. Which is probably why the other characters don't get it. Yeah, okay. So d6 plus 3 goes up to 30 endurance points. There we go. Well, that's it then, isn't it, for everyone? Let's have a quick check if there's anything about extra stuff. There's a nice intro there, which we'll be reading at the start of the next book. Rules of the game, number of players. Player characters who got through the previous book may or may not meet these requirements, depending on how well they did. Yeah. There's no... If this is your first adventure, playing alone... if you completed the previous book in the series, Doomwalk, you will carry over the same adventuring team you used in that book. Your characters will have the abilities, rank, and equipment, you mean lack of equipment, with which they ended their last adventure. Do we get any money to make up for intervening time since the last adventure? Quite possibly not. Let's see. We might get a few coins after all, depending on how much time is supposed to have passed. If you're playing a character from book 4, you already know what equipment you have. Okay, so no money. Right, fine. 1264, or in Remy's case, I think 1267 coins, all gone. That's okay. The new warrior would have 2 swords instead of 1. It almost feels like bringing in a new team would be better. Except... Aha! Studded leather armor for the sage as well. And I imagine for the... So no, they're getting the same gear we would have had. Just with a bit of money. Okay, yeah, sure. Right then. Well, I suppose that brings an end to the session. Oh, we get a nice lengthy introduction there as well. Good. This is all, yes, good final adventure needs good lengthy introduction. Well deserved. There we are. We have faced our... I'm not going to say greatest foe. I mean, he has been our greatest foe in the way he has vexatiously pursued us time and time again. And he was incredibly dangerous at the start of our quest. Icon is no more. We will not meet him again. I'm going to go ahead and relatively comfortably say we will not encounter him in Book 5. If we do, it will be an illusion or someone will summon him as an undead thing. It won't be him coming back from the dead to fight us once again. We have retrieved the blood sword at a heavy loss. And what's Cordelia going to do now? And what was the deal with the servitor having, like, no personality and being really bland the entire time? Well, obviously she was a servant. She should be, you know, like a butler, hidden in the background. Wow. Well, I suppose that's more for us for the final episode. But we have achieved the seemingly impossible. The blood sword is once again in the realm of the living and will be used against the 5 True Magi in Book 5 at the Walls of Spite, I believe it's called. And if that doesn't send a shiver running down your spine, blah, it is late, isn't it? No, it's not late. I've just been playing for a decent amount of time. Then I don't know what does. But hey, we're all heroes. We've passed through the valley of the shadow of death, and we did fear no evil. The sword is in our hands once more, and it is with righteous might that we shall take it to the enemies of the living. I hope you've all enjoyed this adventure, and I trust you'll all be back for more when we begin the final book of Bloodsword. Bye for now, everybody. You're all heroes, each and every one.